Cool. So welcome back, everyone. It's Craig and Gina here again. Welcome to my bubble in my garage. Hopefully there's not too much of a mess in here. Gina and I are just going to have a discussion around what we talked about last time, and then broach a couple of other things sort of around the uncertainty of what's coming up for us. Like last time, if the Facebook Live does drop out, we are recording it, so you will be able to see it in full on the page, on the Mates page in the next couple of days. So yeah, Gina, how are you?
I am great, thank you. Thank you
Good
so much for having me back.
That's great.
So
That's
fun.
all good.
So yeah, we talked quite a bit last time about what was happening in the world, and we talked over the model a little bit, which we'll talk about a little bit more today. But the feedback I've been having, and I don't know about you, Craig, but the feedback that I've been having has been, but this is so uncertain, like what is going to happen next? And that seems to be causing quite a bit of angst for people. Would you agree?
Totally. I think it is. I guess it all comes back to where, for me, I guess I'm lucky because I'm working within the construction industry, and that's one that in level 3 is going to be able to get back up and running. My role with working with apprentices and things, I will still be working from home, but at least the guys are going to be, and girls are going to be back out on site working. And I think there is a lot of optimism out there around construction. Yes, there are the doomsdayers that try and, I guess, clickbait stuff and say, hey, there's X amount of people going to lose jobs and all that sort of stuff. And I guess that's where the uncertainty is, and trying to strip that back and going, actually, I can only control what I can control. And I think when I'm talking to people, that is the whole, right, in level 3 we can do this, which honestly isn't much less than what level 4 was anyway. But what's level 2 going to look like, and when are we going to get there? And what's level 1 going to look like, and when are we going to get there? And what's normal going to look like at the end of the day, I guess, is the big thing. And that's the big unknown for a lot of people, is what's normal from here.
Right, because we get so comfortable in our normal, like we get so used to, it's like a little security blanket that kids have.
Oh, exactly.
It's familiar, it's comfortable, it just keeps us safe. And when that changes, and that's what throws up all that uncertainty. And a lot of people are feeling uncertain right now. I mean, we all are. I mean, if I said I wasn't, I'd be lying, because no one knows what our post-COVID lives are really going to look like. And,
no, exactly.
You know, for a lot of people, life has changed so much for them already. And because they don't know, or because they can't foresee what's going to happen, it's all this big unknown, which creates overwhelm and angst. So it's completely normal for sure. But I think what is really important is to understand where these feelings of uncertainty come from. And I like to call it, and I've completely made this up, so I've taken artistic license, but I like to call it what ifing yourself. Okay. It's a spiral of what if questions that go nowhere that we have running around in our brains. So, for example, what if I lose my job? Or what if I don't get another job? What if the business goes under? And it's these spirals of what if thoughts that make you feel certain. They create that feeling of uncertainty. And it's really just your brain giving you a different future scenario to think about. Okay. Yeah. And they cause that uncertainty. And I think the key here, Craig, is that those future scenarios are made up. They're imaginary. Because when we think to the future, we've got nothing but our imagination to rely on, right?
No, exactly.
They aren't real.
Exactly.
So,
no, I guess so most of those sort of what ifs, are they a negative mindset? Are they sort of sort of going, what if my job is still there and it actually ends up being a lot better than what it was prior to this, and stuff like that? Is it, I guess, you do spend a lot of time worrying about that, that negative side of things as well?
Yeah, well, it's the brain's job, the primitive brain's job, to keep you alive and to keep you safe.
Yeah.
And we talked about this last time. There's a lot of negative messages and a lot of scary things happening,
Yeah.
and your brain is on high alert looking for those scary things. And so it's absolutely human and very natural for it to just give you a whole list of worst case scenarios.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
And can they come true? For sure. Absolutely. Um, Certainty, I think, comes from the belief that what we had planned and the future that we'd imagined for ourselves was actually going to happen. So
Yes.
that creates a feeling of certainty. So you can see why now it's flipped, that we feel so, out of control.
Yeah.
So that uncertainty comes from our constant spiral of what if thoughts of doom, really. So
Yeah.
if you remember from the model that we talked about in the last Facebook Live, if we put COVID-19 up here in our circumstances line as something that we can't control, then this is our brain down here having these, what if I lose my job? What if I have to get a new job? What if my wife loses her job? What if? And it's those thoughts that create the feelings of uncertainty and angst and anxiety. So if we just popped it into a model, then you can actually see where that's coming from.
Yeah.
The other reason we feel uncertain is from our what ifs. So it's these thoughts, what if I lose my job, actually coming true? Because there are a lot of people out there who have lost their jobs. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
And so instead of it being imagined here, it actually moves up into here as an actual, I've lost my job, I'm unemployed. And unless you're one of those lucky people that have been able to find employment again really quickly, and you hear about Wattie's hiring a lot of people and Countdown hiring a lot of people, which is absolutely fantastic. But if you're not one of those lucky ones, then for sure you've got these what ifs, but they
Yeah.
sound different. So you're still what ifing yourself,
Yes. Yeah.
but
For
it's
sure.
now, what if I can't find another job? What if I have to go on the unemployment benefit? What if I have to borrow money to pay the mortgage? So it doesn't matter what your circumstance is that you put up here. It all comes down to what you're thinking about it and what ifing yourself, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. So I don't know what it's been like in the construction industry. With your ear to the ground, have you heard that there's been a lot of layoffs or?
No, there hasn't yet. Or like I say, for the past month, I've been speaking to a lot of people, and there's a lot of optimism out there because I mean, at the end of the day, we still need the houses that we needed a month ago.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of work going on. Yeah, there might be a bit of a whole October, November time, but honestly, I believe that we within construction are probably in a pretty good position compared to a lot of other industries. So, like I say, there is a lot of optimism there. Yes, there have been redundancies, like with so many other industries.
Yeah.
So it is. I like to think that I try and stay positive with everyone I speak to. So I like to think that in 12 months time, we'll be back to some sort of normality. But that's the thing. It's like, what is normal? What was normal before? What's normal coming up? We just don't know. And that's where I guess within construction, within the guys that are owning the businesses, they're like, well, okay, where's the uncertainty? Hey, they might have been building new houses. Are they going to have to move into renovation stuff and things like that? And I guess that's what a lot of the guys over the past month, when they've had this time, have been sort of revisiting their business models and things like that. So it has been, and talking to a lot of them, and you sort of ask, well, what has it been like? And they're like, well, I've had family time. I've been able to hang out with my kids and do stuff like that, which previously they just haven't had that time. So they've actually, and now they're really motivated again to get out there. So I silver linings, I guess, blessing in disguise that, hey, they're now revitalized in some respects. Yeah, there is that what if type thing like you're talking about. Yeah, but I think there is within construction definitely an optimism out there that, hey, we're going to be going forward in a good way.
Yeah. And I think, it's still uncertain for a lot of other sort of brick and mortar type businesses as
Oh,
well, like the
100%.
smaller cafes and
Yeah.
the hospitality industry has been hit particularly hard because there's still a lot of them that aren't going to be open under level 3.
Yeah.
And so it is going to be interesting. No one can predict, and I don't even think the government is going to be able to um, really tell us what life is going to look like. It is going to settle into a new normal. And I've actually, the feedback that I've been having from my Facebook groups and from my clients is that now 4 weeks on, they've just felt like a kind of a settle into level
Mm.
4 feeling normal.
Yeah.
Like this is
Exactly.
just, so it's really interesting how, we are designed to cope with chaos. We are designed to cope with suffering, because it happens through history. It
I
just
guess
keeps happening.
for that, I guess it is a way of thinking. It is a mind shift that
Mm.
I guess there was always previously a month ago. It was probably organized chaos going on in a lot of people's lives. Where now it's like, right, actually, I can focus on A,
Mm.
B, C, and people have got used to it, and it's just stripping back to the bare bones about what we are. Yep, it's spending quality time with family and loved ones and friends
Mm.
and well and I guess connections over social media and things like that. So I guess
Mm.
that's where the positives are.
Yeah.
Um, I believe.
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely. And I think it's taken everybody a little bit of time to get their mind out of, shit, this is happening, to shit, this has happened. We're in it. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? This is awful. What ifing?
Yeah,
Okay. And I think we've kind of settled into okay, well, this is what it is. Let's kind of do the best with it, appreciate what we've got. And it's that shift, and it's taken a little bit of time,
yeah,
but it has happened. And everybody's different, and everybody's circumstances are different. So,
definitely.
um, looking forward then to what we can continue to do, because things are going to change again. So we're coming out of level 4, we're going into level 3. Socially, I don't think for us personally and socially it's going to mean much of a difference.
Not at all.
It's economical is the message from the government. It's getting some businesses that can do it in a safe, contactless way,
Mm.
getting them trading again, which is fantastic. So but things will be changing. And I think I've got 6 steps that I've come up with that I help my clients with that I'd like to share with you all, just in how we can continue to get through the uncertain times. Okay. There's nothing, unfortunately, I can't wave a magic wand and go, right, you're not going to feel uncertain anymore because there's nothing, because the future is unknown. It's just actually something we have to live with. So, and that is actually my first step. Ta-da! Excuse my handwriting. Sorry, it hasn't got any better in the last couple of weeks. The first one is acceptance. So there has to be just a level of acceptance that there is nothing that is certain in life except what has been. A history. We can be certain about that because it's happened. And no matter how much you plan or how much you really want something, it's just not certain that it's ever going to happen for you. And anything that we think about the future, like I was saying before, is actually made up. And some of it happens as we expect it to, and some of it doesn't. It's just the 50-50 of life.
Yeah,
But our suffering comes from arguing with that and pushing against it. So this shouldn't be happening. I wish this was different. That just increases the anxiety and causes that suffering. So let's just accept, or take a deep breath and accept that, hey, this is what it is. It's outside of our control, and nothing about the future is ever certain. So we've just got to do the best of it as we do. The second step is the what ifing yourself. Comes back to that worst case scenario, like you mentioned before, how our brains are always just giving us the negative. Pushing against that and pretending that it's not in our heads and that we shouldn't be thinking like that, or even thinking that it's true when it's not, it's all made up, is again another cause of our suffering. So the way to do that is to just process through the worst case scenario. Just sit down and let your brain go there. Stop resisting it. Okay. And stay aware that you are physically safe and breathe, but just let your brain play it out to the end and go, okay, brain, that was our worst case scenario. So that could happen. Okay. That acceptance. What am I going to do about it if it does? And this will instantly take you out of resistance and avoidance and put your brain into problem solving mode. Okay.
Cool.
Okay, brain, I might lose my job. Let's just pretend for a minute that that could happen. What are some of the things that I can do about it? It just shifts again, like you were saying, shifts that mindset out of ruminating about the doom and gloom into problem solving, because we are problem solvers as humans.
Yes. Yeah,
So
for sure.
yeah, we are. We're very good at problem solving. So the more you try to resist that worst case scenario, you're actually doing your brain a disservice, because if you just play it through, it actually naturally wants to go and solve what it believes is a problem, even though it's not a problem because it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Okay. But you can use it to be prepared.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
that's process through the worst case scenario. And I talked a little bit about this a couple of weeks ago, but also process through the best case scenario. So if your future is made up, if those what ifs are imaginary, then why do we spend so much time imagining a negative version of it? So spend time, and I would say equal time, on processing through the best case scenario. So
Yep.
make up amazing what ifs. Okay, what if I get a promotion I've always wanted? What if I get the dream job? What if I'm able to build a more profitable and financially stable business out of all of this, because I've been able to pivot in a way that strengthens the foundation of my business? So all of these what ifs are just as possible as those ones.
Yes. Yep.
Just as possible. So spend just as much time on the positive what ifs as well. Huge for my clients, like the shift in how they see their futures and how they're actually feeling in the right now is really massive, and helps a lot with anxiety.
Yep.
Just when you realize that, a lot of people resist it and they go, but no, Gina, the worst case scenario that always happens, Murphy's Law. Well, yes, bad things do happen, but good things also happen as well. So give
So
yourself
would you always do it at that worst case first, best case second? Because then I guess the last thing you're going to remember will be that best case scenario.
Yeah, for sure. And this one here is your brain's natural instinct. It will always go to worst case because it's trying to keep you alive, and it believes that you're going to die. It's just what the brain does. It's
Yep.
very, very good at keeping us alive, which is why we're alive. So I would do that first, but then let it do its thing. I think don't resist it, and then do the best case. You'll find that it will be wanting to go back to another worst case,
Yep.
or it might try and sabotage your best case. Just go, no, hang on. We're going to just play this one back.
Yep.
Let's just persevere. It's all about that mind management, and that's what I teach in coaching, is just how to manage the mind and how to bring it back and focus on what you want it to focus on.
And I guess, I mean, that on paper, it looks really easy, but I suspect bouncing back and forward between best case, worst case, especially if you're, I guess, I'll take it back to when I was in a hole. There was never a best case, and any time I'd sort of think about a best case, that worst case would take over. That sort of the internal critic going on, just ticking over, going, "What are you talking about? Best case? You're nuts." I'm just gonna. So I guess it is something that it is a work on, and it's not something that personally, I'm just saying from a personal point of view, thinking best case does take a bit of time and getting used to it.
Absolutely.
And for those positive thoughts, just to beat down on that internal critic that's keep on saying, "Hey, I'm here and I'm going to make everything terrible for you." And I mean, I'm a true believer that you get what you think. So if you're thinking that, yeah, I'm thinking best case, then hey, you're on the right track straight away to heading in that direction. You might not get there, but it's going to be better than going that other direction with the worst case.
Absolutely. And that is really key, is that I think the brain, if you don't process this through the worst case scenario properly, like if you don't allow your brain to really go there, and for you to just set it onto a how can we figure it out, how can we resolve it if that happens, and play that out as well and get it down on paper. I'm a firm believer in journaling, or just writing it down on a back of an envelope even. That actually you'll find will quiet that internal critic. It does take practice. And I have a lot of clients say and resist this one. They go, but hang on, why am I making up a best case scenario? That's not going to happen. I'm like, well, they're
You're
both
making up a
made
worst
up.
case.
You know,
Yeah.
it does take practice, because we don't often do this. Well, we do, but we don't recognize it.
Yeah.
One of the best case scenarios that I can think of is that when we decide to have children, we think it's going to be fabulous, and
Yeah.
it is. But
It
it's
is. It
never
certainly
quite
is.
how
Oh,
we
exactly.
expect it to be, right?
And that's the unknown. I guess it's
Mm.
everybody's having kids and everything. It's different for everyone. So I mean,
Yeah.
everybody's life's different. It's not how I guess it's trying to say that if you're talking to someone that is possibly going through a tough time, oh, I know exactly what you mean, or I know I've been there.
Yeah.
You haven't. That's the
Mm.
thing, and I guess it's just taking that and knowing that everyone is different.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just working with your brain, just allowing it to do what it wants to do with the worst case scenario, but then, you know, force it, focus it, sit down.
Yeah.
You might just get a little bit of your best case scenario out. That's okay. It all takes practice, for sure.
Cool.
The next step is one I'm really hot about, and that is no fake news. Our exposure to news, whether it be fake or otherwise, is massive at the moment,
Yes.
especially with
Yeah.
the things going on in the world. And it's very easy to compare
Yeah.
ourselves with, with what is happening in, I don't know, New York, for example. So just be careful of that. It's human nature to seek out ways to feel better.
Yes.
And so we look for information and data. You're not going to find it inside the fake news. And in fact, I want to say, I don't think you'll find it in the 6 o'clock news either, to be honest, even if they are just reporting the facts. What I like to say to my clients is, get the information that you need to be prepared, just forget all the rest. You can be responsibly prepared and not be watching the news 6 hours a day and scrolling through social media 6 hours a
Yes.
day.
Yeah.
And just check in with how, if you're watching the 6 o'clock news or the 1 o'clock update, how you're feeling.
Yes.
Okay? Are you starting to feel more anxious and more worried? And if you are, turn it off. You don't need it. You really don't. Okay. So no fake news. The next one is take a stock take. What can you control? There are a lot of things out there that we are missing because we're in what ifing mode. We're looking at the negative, and it's really easy to miss all the things that are actually going right and what is going well, and the things that we have a lot of control over.
Yeah.
So just sit down, and it might, again, it won't feel natural because our brain is wanting to keep us alive and keep looking for the danger and the negative. But just bring it back and go, well, actually, it's not a grateful list either. It's just I can control this. I can control what we have for dinner tonight.
Yeah.
I can control what the kids eat to a certain degree. Once they get older, that goes. Just list all the things. They might be small, but they will, again, just shift the mind back.
100%. And that's something I think I've spoken about it quite a lot over the past month, is controlling the controllables.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. You've got no other control apart from, it's pretty much what's going on in your bubble. I can control what's going on here and now in my bubble.
Yes.
And I guess I relate it to if I'm doing an Ironman or anything like that as well. I can only control what's going on. I can't control the weather. I can't control what other people are doing. I can only control what I'm doing.
Yes.
So that is a big thing for me, is being able and just knowing, okay, what are my controllables? What can I control? Because sometimes you think you can control something, but it's actually, well, no, it's out of my control. It's just, and now I guess we are forced to, into a smaller, with the bubbles. It's like, well, this is all I can control.
Yeah,
And it's now,
absolutely.
which is now, I think it's a good thing, because people are going, actually, now I know what you're talking about.
For sure, right? So the things that are outside your control come back up and they sit in here.
Yeah.
And you get to decide what you think about them.
Yeah.
Okay. Which is going to create feelings that are going to drive your actions and results, like we talked about. But I think that is the key here, is that this is a beautiful thing. You get to choose what you think about anything at any given time. And a lot of us are very reactionary, like we just react. We can be quite negative, and that's normal, completely normal. But once you realize that acceptance, can't control these, what can I control? And what am I going to think about the things that I can't control that are going to make me feel better? Because you do have that power.
Yes.
You do have the power to redirect your brain. It does take practice, but it can definitely be done. It's the core of the coaching that I do with clients.
Cool.
Okay, and the last step sounds a bit cliche, but set a goal or goals. You know, it's all again about shifting that focus and getting your brain to work on solving problems, achieving something, creating something, instead of sitting there what ifing yourself, thinking about worst case scenarios and scaring the crap out of yourself, right? Set some goals. Don't have to be huge, can be as small as cleaning out the hallway cupboard, which was mine yesterday. And set as many or as little as you want, whatever doesn't create overwhelm and angst.
Yeah. And I am huge on this. This is my go-to, because it's pretty much what saved me, to be honest. It was something that as a kid growing up, I would always do. I'd always set goals for myself, mostly sporting stuff. And then I completely forgot about it. And I just started going through life, and I ended up just getting stuck into a rut, I guess, and just not really having anything to live for, any drive to look forward to, anything like that. And then I sat down with a counsellor, and they said, well, how about setting some goals? And I set a few, and then had the big hairy ass goal, the big hag of Ironman. But there was no way that I could have gone from A to Ironman without a heck of a lot in between. And even that, I mean, one of my first goals was pretty much just running 500 meters without stopping. So and you just have, you have that big goal, but then it's those little goals, like you say, it could be as little as cleaning out a hallway cupboard or something like that. And just, I guess the satisfaction or the good vibe, the good feeling that you get about it, once you just tick off those goals, it's unbelievable.
Absolutely.
There's science behind it. I have no idea what it is. I just know I feel good when I do it.
No, it's that sense of accomplishment. And I would really highly recommend you do exactly that. You write them down so you can tick them off or cross them off. There is something, like you say, there's a science behind it. There is something about, I'm done. You know, that's done.
I think I would also suggest, I mean, you look at, I guess I talk about the New Year's resolution type stuff. People think about it and they're like, oh, that's what I'm going to do. That's as far as it gets a lot of the time. It's like, okay, you can write it down. That's great. But as soon as you tell someone, and they're your accountability partner, because they're going to be asking you, how's that goal going? It's sort of like, I've now got to, I've actually got to do this. Because instead of just having it up on the fridge or in a book somewhere or something like that, it still can be changed or forgotten about or something. But if you have an accountability partner that you've said, I'm going to do this, they're going to be like, and get them to ask you. I mean, I do that. I'm like, okay, cool. If I'm going to be training for something, or I want to do something, okay, how's that going?
Yeah, for sure. And that is, I mean, I can't even count how many times my clients have said, when they've got on a call with me, have said, oh, well, I was going to eat that cookie, but I knew I had to be accountable to you, Gina, so I didn't eat it, and it does just keep us in check. It does.
And another thing is, if you set a goal and you don't achieve it, there's nothing wrong with that either.
Why?
I've I always go back to Ironman, but I mean, I set a goal and a weather bomb hit, so I couldn't do it that year. So I set it a goal again,
Hmm.
and then I had a heart attack. So once again, I couldn't do it. But I did get there in the end. I mean, it's just it's a journey. It's always changing. It's not one that, okay, I'm going to have set this goal and I'm going to nail it by XYZ date, because if you don't, then I guess you start feeling that, putting that pressure back on yourself and anxious that, oh geez, I've said I'm going to do this. It's like, well, no, you've set that goal and you're taking the steps in the right direction to achieve that goal, then surely I'm a better person today than what I was yesterday. Then that's a hell of a lot better than going, oh no, I'm just not going to do it.
Absolutely. Like a lot of people are afraid of change, and setting a goal is quite a sneaky way of being able to change yourself and achieve something in the process, because you're absolutely right. The Craig who set that original goal was not the Craig who reached it, who achieved
Hmm.
it. Okay. You evolved, you became the guy who was able to train and complete an Ironman. And that wasn't the guy at the beginning.
Oh heck no.
So, there's a massive amount of change, and that's difficult. It's really uncomfortable. If uncomfortable in that scenario, it's uncomfortable physically as well as emotionally
Yes.
as you evolve through it. Absolutely. And setting goals is a massive part of what I do in coaching, because we go through what your beliefs are. We go through your, what we call, compelling reason. Why are you doing it? And we also go through failure, and
Yeah.
and we work a lot on failure, because failure is a mental construct. It only happens inside our heads. We decide that something is a failure based on a result that happens,
Yeah.
when actually failure is just something not happening the way that you expect it to. And the only way that I believe that you can fail is when you quit.
Yeah.
So otherwise, if it doesn't work, you tweak it, you keep trying, you're not failing in my book.
Exactly.
You're actually
Exactly.
learning. So
Exactly.
yeah, it's a big part of what we do. And I tell you what, over the last 4 weeks, Craig, if I had $1 for every time I've heard someone say, oh, now's not the time to lose weight, or now's not the time to get fit, or
Oh,
now's not the
exactly.
time
Yeah.
to stop drinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Newsflash, it is the perfect
Yes.
time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like the way you talked about the why. I mean, the why is key, because I guess sometimes I hark back to physical activity and things like that. People go, I go to the gym, I'm going to lose weight.
Mm,
But why?
mm,
Why are you losing the weight? Because I want to be healthier. I want to live longer. I want to be able to run around with my kids, my grandkids, and things like that.
mm.
And it's as soon as you find that why, that actually taps right into their way of thinking, their mentality, and things like that. It's like sweet. And for me, my why for Ironman was to prove that I was mentally well again. That I beat the black dog. Um, by doing a 3.8k swim, 180k bike ride, and a 42k run in one day. You've
Sounds
got to be pretty.
excessive, sorry.
You've got to be nuts to be able to do that. To do it. But to be honest, for me, it was more about, I can do it. I've pushed myself. This is how far I can go. So yeah, it wasn't really about the race. I could have probably just done a marathon or a half marathon. I probably would have been in the same boat. But it was just okay.
Mm,
That was my why, and
yeah.
that was the main reason for that goal.
Absolutely. And that main why fuels your commitment, and it fuels your motivation. And you can lean on that as well as your environment, like your person that's holding you accountable, or your tribe that are holding you accountable. And it just
Yeah.
helps you evolve through the uncomfortable bits of it, because setting goals and achieving them, even the cleaning out of the hallway cupboard, can feel pretty unmotivated and uncomfortable sometimes. So
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, I just wanted to finish up really actually with a little bit of a pep talk. I just wanted to say, it is not the time right now to become an overweight alcoholic couch potato. Please don't do that to yourselves. If you're planning to travel, you can get excited and plan. The unknown bit is when you're going to do it, but you can still be excited and plan for when you do it. And don't be the person that lets COVID-19 and our lockdown be an excuse for you stopping living the best life possible, because you know, the future is just a figment of our imaginations, and you get to decide what that future looks like and feels like right now. So my challenge to you is, which one are you going to choose?
That's
Which
brilliant.
one are you going to focus on? Yeah.
That's perfect. That
Yeah.
is. There are a lot of positives to take out of this as well.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, yes, it has killed people. People have passed away because of this, but there are positives to take out of it as well. And I think that's what we need to focus on, is those. And moving forward, it's like, well, could what we do now be part of the new normal? I mean, yesterday, Anzac morning, I stood at the end of the driveway with my wife, and you look around and all the neighbours were out and things like that. And I was like, this is awesome. This standing unity and things like that. It's brilliant. Yeah, a lot of people would have loved to have got to the cenotaph, but we find our way around things and coping in a crisis. And coming together as one, as a team of 5 million, I think it's something to be proud of. For the last month, I think we as a nation can be proud to say what we've done, and now it's just a matter of continuing that on into the future. And yeah, there is unknown, but hey, let's walk towards it and embrace it and go, right, we're gonna take control, and we can only control what we control. So let's just get out there and kick ass.
Yeah, pretty much. Perfect. It's exactly it. Just meet it head on, you know. We've been, as humans, we've come through so much in the years, the hundreds of years. And to say to ourselves now, well, this is too hard, we can't cope, that's bullshit. You know, we are coping. We're already coping. And in fact, some people are thriving. Some people are, you know, loving the way that their lives have changed, loving the way that it's been stripped back. And a lot of people, and I know that there is, you know, things that are happening that are really horrible for people out there. But, you know, I think when we think about what the future could look like, a lot of small business owners that I've been talking to who have brick and mortar businesses have said, at least 4 of them have said, I'm not even sure why I have an office with that overhead. We're all working from home and probably more productive. So they're starting to get really excited about how that can change their business. And I can just see that shift. So I think the human resilience is an amazing thing. And like you say, let's just meet it head on and go for it.
Exactly. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. It was fun as usual.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, I guess we could carry on and talk for hours, but we've got to get out and enjoy this sunshine while it lasts and everything. So everyone that has been watching, thank you. It has dropped out a few times, so we will get the full video up in the coming days. And yeah, let us know what you think and if you've got questions and things like that. So feel free to ask. But Gina, if anyone's interested, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, for sure. So I have my Facebook page, which is very simply Gina Hubbard Coaching. And you can also get in touch with me just through my personal Facebook page as well, which is Gina Hubbard, obviously. Or you can even email me at gina@ginahubbardcoaching.com, and I can put that on the Mates Matter page if anyone's got any questions. And I also am going to put up some resources, maybe just elaborate on these, just a little 1-page PDF if anybody wants to download it as well. The process for going through the worst case scenario and just some questions to help prompt that process going smoother. So we'll get those up too.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much again, and we'll chat again soon.
Absolutely. Thank
Cool.
you. See
Thank
you,
you.
everybody.
Bye.